Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whenever you're listening to this. This is Matthew BD alongside my critical partner in crime, Ricardo Medina.
Yeah. Hello.
And the movie junkie herself, Sommerleigh.
Hello.
And this is another episode of 6 Reels Deep, and we will be talking about another zombie movie. Yes, folks, we will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of Zombieland, right? So, allow me to kick things off with just just my history with the film and going back to it, right? So I saw this theatrically when it dropped back in 2009, right? I absolutely enjoyed it. It was one of my favorite films of 2009. I think it was in my top 10, but then at the time I wasn't really doing top 10s. I really got into that when I started, blogging right back in 2011, right? Looking back at it now, right? What really makes the show interesting, right, is that you gotta think about it too in terms of when this movie came out in 2009. There was a lot of zombie movies that came out around that time, right? Whether it was Shaun of the Dead, 20 Days Later, the Dawn of the Dead remake, Wreck, stuff like that, right? And this was, and fun fact, like, Walking Dead didn't even start till a year afterwards, and we already had like a lot of zombie films, right? And then of course, there was the zombie video games like Dead Rising and Left 4 Dead and stuff like that, right? So there was a huge influx of zombie movies, right? So when it came to this, it was like, all right, what you really bringing to the table, Dred?
A really good one.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but this one, for me, what it brought was this sense of irreverent fun and humor to the zombie genre. Because, for the most part, most zombie movies and games were kind of just taking themselves so seriously, right? It's about the tragedy of it all, and, it's the apocalypse and all that kind of stuff. This one was like, here's what, we know all that, but let me just have some fun, right? Let me just keep things kind of, this over the top and silly and risky and whatnot, right? And yes, I mean, the horror is there, and it's the same kind of gory, over the top stuff that you would expect from a 2000 zombie movie, right? But for me, what makes the show work is the humor and the characters. That's really what makes it work, right? For me, I think this was the first or second time that I saw Jesse Eisenberg, aka the best Lex Luthor ever. In a film of my life, right? Because I think after this, I saw Adventureland. I can't remember if I saw Adventureland first or this one after. I think because of Zombieland, I saw Adventureland. I was like, oh, that's Adventureland. Okay, that was right. Okay. And because he always liked to play these sort of, he liked to play these quirky, nerdy characters. Like the man, he always have this sort of Michael Cera kind of vibe to the way how he looks and talks and whatnot. It would make sense that eventually actually a year afterwards, he would play Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network, right? Which, yes, to me, is one of the best films of the past decade, at least in my opinion, right? And I also do like the fact that he is the narrator of the story, right? He's taken us in to the world of Zombieland. He's given us the ins and outs. But he's also touching on, how he feels about the whole situation, right? I think that it works seeing it from his perspective, right? This was a zombie movie for me that incorporated something simple, but it's very relevant when it comes to any survival horror movie. Rules, right? I love how Columbus, which is Jesse's character, lays down these rules, right? And if you go on the wiki page for this movie right now, you'll see a list of all 49 rules mentioned in this movie. I think all of them were mentioned in this movie. Or maybe a few of them were mentioned in the sequel, which you'll get into, right? But yes, I counted there's 49 in that list. I'm like, all right, bro, okay. But I'm mentioning ones that matter, right? For me, I always love how these rules were visualized in these large letters and they animated in a simple way to reflect what the rule is, right? Like the first rule is cardio, right? So the first time you see cardio, you see the words moving like it's a heartbeat, right? It's simple, but it's clever, right? And like, I don't know, when you see these moments in the first film, like it actually more in the first than the second, those moments are funny. Just visually, they really work, right? But for me, the best of these rules is easily the double tap, right? I mean, that's very self-explanatory, right? I mean, like, and it makes sense when you think about it. One shot the zombie head, not gonna cut it. You gotta fire one more shot just to make sure, right? And if I ever find myself in a zombie apocalypse, that is a rule I would live by. Double tap, full stop, right? As for the sequel, I also saw that theatrically, right? But the weird thing about the sequel for this is kind of weird in retrospect, right? So, the sequel come out 10 years, exactly 10 years after the first one, right? So this is 2019, right? And as I mentioned, Walking Dead, right? we ran through like about 8 seasons of Walking Dead at this point in time. So for a sequel like for this to drop at the tail end of the 2010s, you had to bring something new to the table, right? And while it didn't really bring that much to the table,
they didn't evolve the material at all.
Yeah, but it was I still enjoyed it when I first saw it, and I actually recapped it in preparation for this, right? It still works, right? But it's just a movie that came out way too late. We could have gotten that like 3 years after the fact, right? Because again, like I say, it's 8-9 seasons of Walking Dead. We came before this now. So when this thing drop is like, well, why? Like, what are you really gonna do with this, right? I don't know, right? And you really see it with how the actors themselves grow up there, especially Abigail Breslin, who you remember from Little Miss Sunshine. She grew up as like, well, all right. Yeah. Kind of weird, like not weird in the sense that she grew up, right? But in the sense that it takes so long for them to even, reach that point. Look, Emma Stone won an Oscar at that point in time, right? And they all reached the sequel. Like, it's just weird timing, right? I don't know if it had to do with the series that dropped, because, I always had to remind myself that there was a series. In preparation for this, I saw the debut episode. I think that was like the only episode that came out, right? Through Amazon Prime Video. And it sucked. And the reason is simple, because the cast was not there. It was the same characters, but it was not the same cast. And I'm sorry, the cast of the show is really what makes it work, right? You cannot get somebody to replace Woody Harrelson. You cannot get somebody to replace Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, Abigail Breslin. And that's what this pilot did, and it failed miserably, right? And you try to build a series around actors that I don't know, playing characters that I've already seen played better. It really don't make no sense, right, in my opinion. But Double Tap was fine for what it was, though. I like how it kind of expands on the world of Zombieland, like incorporating this whole sort of hippie community and how they deal with the situation. I thought just the third act and what they do with the zombies, that was pretty cool as well. There's a couple of funny bits with a little mirror matching thing going on too, with you had Luke Wilson playing like his version of Tallahassee and stuff like that. There was some fun moments, right? But timing though was just off though. So by the time you reach the Double Tap, it's like, we kind of don't need this because we already have Walking Dead and a ton of other shows already, you know what I mean? So this show could have come out easily 3-4 years after this, right? But I'll close to this. It's one of those shows similar to like what I says, similar to like how I feel about like Deadpool 2, for example. I would buy the first one in a heartbeat, right? But if it came in a combo pack with Deadpool 2 and with Deadpool and Wolverine, yes, I'd buy that too. Same way I feel about Zombieland. Like, if I would buy the first one in a heartbeat because I really enjoy that film. But as far as Double Tap goes, if it was part of the combo pack, I'd buy it. And I'd just watch it, just like if I want to do like a double feature and just move on with my life. But I'll really remember Zombieland, the first one, more than the second one, in my honest opinion, right? So Summer, your history with Zombieland and how you feel about Double Tap.
I saw it in cinemas, and like everybody else, I always enjoy a new spin on an old game, and the whole thing that they did with the zombies. It felt very much like Scream. It was kind of meta in the sense that, okay, everybody knows, this is how you handle zombies. So how do we put a fresh spin on that? We make it a road trip movie, and I think that's where the movie succeeds. As you said, it's with the characters. If these poor people that we would, I don't think we would care, Even at the comedy works as well. The pacing is good, all of that. I'm not the biggest Jesse Eisenberg fan. Somehow he annoys me, and this is long before I saw him as Lex. I did like him in Adventureland, and recently I watched him in Manodrome. He blew me away in Manodrome. I've never seen him as a scary guy before, and he portrayed that character really well. But here I enjoyed this movie for what it was. It's not a movie I revisit often, but I did remember having fun with it in theaters, and I feel it's definitely one of those type of horror movies where There are some you can sit, you can watch alone, you can get everything you need out of it. And then there's what I like to call the party movies. And this is like that. This is the kind of horror movie I would put on while I like to have friends over during Halloween and we have fun with something like this. As the sequel, I am total agreement with you, you guys, that it was fine, but it wasn't in any way memorable. It's not something that I would chase. And it also does that thing that kind of annoys me, where you take ordinary characters that were fine the way they were ordinary people in an extraordinary situation, and they were kicking ass. And then you add an element of almost superhuman abilities to them. And we see that in that final act that I find the most, where there's things that one should not be able to do or survive, and these guys are pulling it off. Stuff like that pulls me out of a movie, especially if the movie has already established itself a certain way. The world building is a certain way. As for the television show, I remember that episode, Matt. I also remember it being really bad. And funny enough, the television series Z Nation sort of did the Zombieland thing with a bit of a darker edge. And for the most part, I thought Z Nation was a good show, Didn't end strong, but it definitely probably took inspiration from Zombieland to do what it did. If you ever get a chance to check it out, it does the same thing. It's a lot about the characters. And unlike Walking Dead, where everybody's depressed and everybody has PTSD, and oh my God, everything is a downer. Z Nation, you get the drama, but it's a lot more comedy and it's a lot more action oriented.
Right, understood. So, yeah, Ricardo, your history with Zombieland, did you see the pilot for the TV show, and what you thought about Double Tap?
Yeah, right. I never watched the TV show. Don't know what that's about. Okay. The original, this first film, yeah, you're right. It came on a real weird time, where it felt a little played out. It's like, they're doing zombies again, kind of played out. But this ended up just being a lot better than I thought it was. Just mostly because, yeah, they nailed the characterization and they did the kind of scream meta aspect of it. And that's why it works so well. Like, what happens when you have a genre-savvy, conscientious character as part of this? What happens? And the character's great at that. You give him having rules, him thinking about it, what he will do if he in such a scenario, that kind of thing. And they make it work in terms of like the humor and the jokes. With this first one, it's great. Especially, I love the opening to this. That great Metallica needle drop. They'd make that work really well. That opening.
I'll bring that up.
Love it. Yeah. But yeah, this really worked. At the time, I think Left 4 Dead 1 came out, and I'm pretty sure that Left 4 Dead 2 is inspired by this film because there's a level, or at least one level in Left 4 Dead 2 is inspired by this film. There's a level called Dark Carnival.
It's funny you said that. I did think I read somewhere where Left 4 Dead 2, the developers, I think it's saying Zombieland is a ripoff of Left 4 Dead 2.
Well, I mean, kind of. It still plays like both Left 4 Dead and Zombieland does the same thing, which is four goobers, four normal people, and they just drop in banter off of each other, kind of thing. But to me, I find the dynamic is not that. I mean, whatever. Left 4 Dead 1 does it really well, Left 4 Dead 2 does it really well as well. But I think Left 4 Dead 2, straight up, there's a level called Dark Carnival, and it's in a carnival. It's that, they play with that. Yeah, they play with that, and it's that. But these things just kind of bounce off each other anyway, so I don't really find out who rip off or anything like that. But why Left 4 Dead 2 is brilliant at the episode of Dark Carnival is because there's a fictional rock band, and the ending is a big rock song, which is an homage, I think is a big homage to Metallica, which is used in this film. And it's so on and so forth. I remember really thoroughly enjoying this film because of just how surprisingly well done and funny it was, and how well made it was. I just didn't think it would have been funny, especially there's a great joke in the middle in this, in the White House, that's all you need to know. And they just make it work.
Sorry to interrupt you, but the White House was in Double Tap, actually. They didn't go to the White House then.
Oh, no, sorry. Involving a mansion.
Yeah, a mansion, which you'll get to.
sorry about that. Yeah, but yeah, they make that work. But yeah, with respect to the sequel, right? The sequel fell flat for me. It came too late, and it just didn't add anything to the material or had anything commentary wise or do anything metatextual or anything interesting with the material. It feel like a script that was like a year later, and they say, all right, well, we take so long to pull this off. So all right, again, if it came out like a year or two after, it would have been fine. But it took too long to come out, so they needed to update it in that sense. And it's unfortunate because I really felt they could have done something really interesting. It kind of remind me of like M. Night and Glass. After so much time and the space in which you released it, they could have made this a lot more interesting. And you didn't. It just fell flat. This is that, right? Commentary wise, what you're saying about the genre, what you're going to do with it. And we didn't really get that. So it just came and went through, right?
And speaking of that show, right? I forgot this character was in this movie, but she almost took me out in the movie. But she kind of kept me in because because some of the jokes actually land, and because she character was dumb, that was kind of the point. Madison, the blonde that Columbus meet.
I forgot that as well.
She almost got to my nerves, right? I was reminded of that when I rewatched Double Tap. I was like, oof. Right. Yeah, but sorry about that.
And So that's how I feel about the franchise. Again, I watched TV shows, so neither here nor there for me. I didn't hear anything about it. I knew it was kind of bad. It just slipped out of my mind. Once I hear it bad, you're making an effort. So moving on from there, that is about it.
Yeah. So as you say, Ricardo, the intro for this film is excellent, right? I like how you see the first 4 rules laid out in these bloody scenarios, right? Well, very hilarious scenarios, right? Yeah. That's one thing I love about the show is like these scenarios have nothing to do with the core story, but it's just there to show you, this is how grimy the world is, right?
And also to kind of explain Jeffrey's personality as well. He's this kind of anal retentive guy, even in a zombie apocalypse.
Very, very neurotic. Yeah, very neurotic. And it's very honest. Like at first, it comes off as funny, but then you can understand he was always this way. He was always like shy and scared of the world. Yes. Had a lot of phobias and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's great character build up there, set up there, right? Especially, just going back to the intro, right? Rule number 4, I feel like is supposed to be like a nice little, like a homage to the intro to Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, right? Where it's like this normal scenario at home. Well, in this case, it's some kid's birthday party, and the kids go mad and chase the mother. She jump into a car, but she didn't buckle. She belts. So yeah, rule number 4, buckle up, right? And just that shot of her bursting through that windshield, boy, I love that, and how it leads into the title sequence is badass. And just that song, Metallica's For Whom the Bell Tolls. What makes this sequence work though is the slow-mo. Is something about that slow-mo and how stylized everything looks. I love that. And it's just zombie on human and human and zombie seeds of violence. We're just so over the top there. I love how, it's similar to the use of text when they're showing the rules. Yeah, how they show the credits, right? Especially that last shot with the directed by the way, Ruben Fleischer, director of Venom. Haha, think about that, right? Yeah, right? So you had to start somewhere. Yeah, where you see it on the windshield as the zombie cracks it open or something like that. Yeah, that was great. But the scene, the shot that really take win for me though is the 3-legged race though. That was great. His human fathers and zombie kids. I love that. That is so brilliant, right? It's just humor though. It's dark humor. It's not pitch black humor, but it's still great humor, right? I like that the cause of this whole zombie apocalypse was this contaminated burger that somebody ate 2 months right before the events of this movie. By the way, I'll bring that up near the end of the of this discussion here, right? I know the funny thing is like it would sound impossible back in 2009, right? The idea that somebody got contaminated from a burger, right? But then look at where we at right now, right? We went through a couple, we went through a pandemic, right? That's the way to go.
As a player, and it also play on the whole mad cow disease thing. So
yes.
It's like, And it's something that people were talking about a while. It's like, our food is, kind of pretty bad, right? Like, we need to, deal with a lot of that. So that happening is a bit funny on its own, right?
That's true, yeah. The establishing scene with Columbus is brilliant in my opinion, where he's in this car park and he's running away from these two zombies. I love how they stress on cardio a lot. That's really, really cool. Especially that one time where he actually circles back into the car that you just see.
Yeah.
You know, the car, ding, sorry.
I love that.
Ding, ding.
Yeah.
I love that, right? And you could tell that the writers of this movie knew a lot about horror movie tropes, right? And then when you frame it in with the character Columbus, right? It's not like he sat down and watched a bunch of horror movies so he knew what to do. It's because he's neurotic, because he just kind of afraid of things. It would make sense that he would sit down and say, this is what I should do. These are the things I should have in mind if ever I find myself in a scenario, right? But I also love that even when he has these ideas in his head, there's still things that could go wrong. Like when he's trying to open the door and he can't open it, right? So stuff like that, right? That kind of stuff that I love about this character, right? When Columbus meets Tallahassee, right, who's played by Woody Harrelson. By the way, I think this came right after he starred in No Country for Old Men. I think he was I think he got an Oscar nom for it. I can't remember if I should look up and see if he ever won an Oscar. I don't think it was for that movie. I think it was probably for with his Three Billboards. I think it was that show. I can't remember. It's been a while, right? But yeah, I know he was nominated for one. I think it was for No Country, but whatever. The point is, he was clearly having a blast with this movie, right? I love that he's playing the whole America, kind of character with the cowboy hat, and he always played like a cowboy, like a badass. He always rocking guns and all that kind of stuff, right? I love how he plays that. You could tell he was really enjoying that, right? I also love how the show sets up the fact that, we're not going to give out your real names. So look, I'm from Columbus, so I'm Columbus, right? You're from Tallahassee, you're from, I got to call you Tallahassee. It's simple script writing. That's what it is. A little script writing excuse, so you don't have to think up names, but it works, right? And also adds the whole post-apocalyptic feel of things, right? Where it, like states don't matter,
it's who you were doesn't matter.
The entire nation is messed up, so it don't really matter where you're from, is where you're at, basically, right? So, your name is Columbus, whatever, right?
Well, a big part of it, a big part is the emotional of it. Don't get to attach that aspect of it.
That's true,
yeah.
Right. And I won't lie, though, the first time they established this with Tallahassee, I was like, I don't know if this joke will work, but it kind of does in a weird way. His love for Twinkies. Right? And it kind of goes back to, I think like it was always this sort of like urban myth, I think it was, or this basic scientific factor, the shelf life.
Twinkies would survive a nuclear apocalypse.
Right, which is, I don't think it's true, but
Because I know how big of a deal Twinkies was in the 80s. Like if you ever read like like 80s comic books, there was always like an ad for Twinkies, right? And like over the years they kind of found, they actually last long. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay,
So the Twinkie, as we understand it, is I think originally derived from military rations. So that's where I think the myth come from. But I think it's a myth.
Okay.
Mostly a myth.
Right. Yeah. So sorry for cutting the Summer, but go on.
No. I was just asking if the Trinidadian version of a Twinkie is a goodie.
Pretty much.
Like what we call goodie.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same product. Yeah. I think it's slightly smaller.
It sure as hell not no kiss cupcake that will expire real quick. But anyway,
right.
But that's the idea that he going out the way to find expired food. Because yes, I mean, to every Twinkie he trying to run into. Sorry, he will grab is expired, right? Is expired food, right? But it kind of adds the whole survival vibe of the show there, But it was kind of weird the first time I saw it.
They just play into the idea of the creature comforts that you'll miss, no?
Yes.
Like, where you will break down. Yeah, you'll miss all these little small things.
That's true, so the supermarket scene is great, though. And I love just the reasoning behind Tallahassee going there. As I said before, he wants to, in his words, he wants to get the last box of Twinkies. So yes, in this one random supermarket, it's like the last box of Twinkies in the whole country, right? Whatever, it don't matter, right? And he drops the movie's tagline, which is time to nut up or shut up, right? Also, even though we could talk kind of bad about the double tap, I like that in that show they sort of address how old that line is. Like, it don't hold up as much as it does. I like that. Like, little stuff.
Well, I think originally it's a military term. or something along the lines of that. It's like, oh yeah, right, yeah, that's how to make sure the person dead,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Right?
It does sound like something like a drill sergeant would say, like, assholes and elbows, right? Like from Aliens, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like that, right? And about that supermarket scene, right? Which, of course, there's zombies there. For some odd reasons, there's fat zombies, which, I guess is a Dawn of the Dead joke. Haha. This introduced...
I think it's also the whole cardio thing. It feeds back into that because, I mean, I don't know if some people say that joke hasn't aged well, but the whole point being that more zombies would be overweight.
Yeah. I think the first time I ever saw an overweight zombie was in Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. I remember that shit freaking me out, though. This fat female zombie that was, like, running him down and so on. But I think that was, like, the first time I ever saw a fat zombie on film ever in my life, right? But anyway, this scene introduced us to another unexpected weapon in beating down zombies, right? So, Shawnee Dead had a cricket bat. Tallahassee have a banjo. And the way how he beat this zombie down with one bar is like, wow, I did not know a banjo could do that. But I'll still go for a cricket man over a banjo, but I see the logic. I see where you get that with it though. But that was really hardcore. I love that, right? Man even have head shears though. To basically cut off a zombie's head, right? I love that it's shown off screen because people going in to laugh. They want to see a zombie head get cut off by head shears, right? Or whatever. But he also have a baseball bat too. But I mean, we know how dread baseball bats are, right? And that's even before that's still infamous and hard to rewatch season 7 premiere of Walking Dead, right? Like we know. Baseball bats work, right? But it's a good thing that is baseball or softball? I think softball is the metallic. Yeah, it's the metallic bat, right?
Yeah, what is both? I mean, it don't really matter, but yeah.
I just always associate baseball with
baseball bat.
Yeah. Okay, right, so moving on. Right, and in the supermarket now, we are introduced to, now two-time Oscar winner Emma Stone, who plays Wichita, right? And Oscar nominee, remember, she was from Little Miss Sunshine, Abigail Breslin, right? Who plays Wichita's little sister, Little Rock, right? And going back to what I said about in Shaun of the Dead, right, with zombie movie tropes, right? I love how Wichita and Little Rock use the whole, she got bit and she's gonna turn into a zombie. I don't know what to do. Should we kill her? And she uses that basically as a way to trick Columbus and Tallahassee, right? I love that it reaches a point where, Tallahassee feels so sorry, he gave Wichita Columbus's shotgun, and surprise, they steal the rest of the weapons and drive off in Tallahassee's Cadillac. Wah, wah, wah. That was well played. Still, when I saw it, like rewatch, I was like, that's a nice play. I'm really sure, I think, because I wasn't that, like, I don't remember Emma Stone from any other film prior to this, though. I think...
Easy A?
Easy A, yeah, that was trying to think of, yeah. Right.
No, but I think Easy A came after this, I could be wrong. I think Easy A came
What about Superbad?
Superbad, that's what.
Superbad.
Yeah. So I didn't see much of her, but I think after the success of Zombieland, you saw her in a lot of films, and then of course she would be in Birdman, which I love, one of my favorite shows of the decade, and she won the Oscar for that, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So eventually, and quite conveniently, in retrospect, they run into each other, and they set up a little road trip thing, which given the world of Zombieland makes a lot of sense. The road trip approach to things, just going from place to place, going through misadventures, right? And I love how it's Lil Rock who's the one who talks about, she wants to go to this theme park called Pacific Playland, right? Because one is a place that she hasn't been to since she was a kid, since she was younger, and also apparently this is like a zombie-free spot now. So the idea is that you go there, you just hang out there and you pretty much survive there, right? There's a place to hide out, right? And that makes sense, right? The whole idea of you're trying to look for some kind of happiness and you find it there, right? But I love how, like in retrospect, right? How it kind of plays on the title of the movie. Because when you hear Zombieland, you're thinking, like Adventureland, you're thinking, Zombieland refers to the theme park. But it does, and it doesn't at the same time. Because, you don't see the theme park till like till the third act of the movie. But it's really the world of where these characters reside in. That's technically Zombieland, right? That's what That's what Columbus calls it. But it's also the theme park as well, too. So I love how the title serves, it's in reference to two locations pretty much, right? But it's not really about the theme park. I'm saying this because I could see some people rewatching this and thinking, it could have just had, like, the majority of the show could have been in the theme park, and I understand that, like, there's a good, nitpick, like a good criticism of it, but I don't think that's the initial point of it. I think that it's just the journey to get to this point, and,
exactly.
And the family dynamic. That's the whole point. It's not about the being in the theme park and growing the family, building the family dynamic. That's the
it's not about it literally. I don't think that was ever the idea behind it. So
So in other words, it's not like
the entire world is an adventure now.
Yeah, so it's not like Dawn of the Dead, both versions, where a majority of the show take place in the mall. That's not what they're going for. They could have done that, but I'm actually glad that they did not do that, right? So that was smart thinking there, right? And you know what I mean? I like that even though, everybody pretty much start off as rivals, they really warm up to each other and they really grow, they build on this family dynamic, right? Because, like, there's this scene where they stop off at this gift shop, this Native American gift shop, right? And they just start tearing up the place and smashing stuff and whatnot, right? It's a really nice moment, right? And for me, I always saw that as a reference to the gun shop in the original Dawn of the Dead, right? Where they're playing like this African tribal music and you're just grabbing a bunch of guns and stuff like that. I feel like that's a reference, right? And it brings up one of the big rules that Columbus have, which is enjoy the little things. I like that. That's very optimistic and coming from somebody like, I lie. Well, Tallahassee's the one who brings it up first. And then Columbus like, that's cool. Let me add that to my list, right? And you could see him sort of opening up to these people, right? I like that, he's not sheltered that much at this point, right? So we're going to get to the mansion scene now, right? So eventually they make it to California, right? And fun fact, right? While they're driving through Hollywood, right? I believe the name of the theater, I think it's called the TCL Chinese Theater, right? In the marquee, you see the text basically, right? For Roland Emmerich's 2012, which came out about a few weeks after Zombieland came out. Yes, this movie came out in 2009. I also saw it theatrically. I saw it twice. And it is one of my favorite guilty pleasure movies ever. It is so dumb, but I love it. It is so much fun, right?
All of those types of movies to me are like guilty pleasures as well. I don't take them seriously at all. I laugh at the ones that take themselves too seriously, like The Day After Tomorrow. But I enjoy those over the top ridiculous movies as well. Like Dante's Peak and all of those things.
Yeah. But I just find it so weird that Universal will just sort of sneak that in, like, coming soon, a movie about the actual apocalypse. That's really interesting, right? But anyway, so while in Hollywood now, Tallahassee, because he's all, American, Americana, right? He decided to stop off at this particular mansion, right? And in retrospect, yes, the scene is there pretty much so we can have this cameo in the movie. But it actually works, right? It actually works, right? Yeah, they stop off at Bill Murray's mansion.
At the time, this was a big deal because Bill Murray was this kind of weird, kind of almost cryptic figure. He used to show up in like this was the pop culture period for Bill Murray. I can't remember how far away from this was from the movie in Japan.
That was in 2003.
Right. Yeah. But right, so right. So, but he became this kind of cryptic pop culture figure of just, look, Bill Murray show up in this bar, or this Bill Murray show up in this small concert, kind of, look at it, they have to like find him virally kind of thing. So this, I thought, was a big deal at the time because this was the kind of the virality of Bill Murray. He was kind of tapping into that humor, and now everybody thinks he's a little bit of an asshole now, but it was at the time, it was actually pretty funny and clever.
Yeah.
He's one of the people that people will instantly start to laugh or smile just because it's Bill Murray,
Yes.
Right, and what it did with it, what it did with it was pretty great. Like that, and what it did with it ultimately is really, really funny and clever.
It was. And in retrospect, right? Like I could see some viewers, especially first timers, now watching this for the first time and thinking that the bit runs on for too long. But I think it works though. Like it just sort of builds the joke, right? Where basically they're just chilling at the mansion, just having fun. There's a really nice moment where Columbus and Little Rock are watching Ghostbusters. because the Rock never saw Ghostbusters before, and it's a bit that they continue on in Double Tap where it's like, oh, you don't know about this, you because she's 12 at the time now. Oh, you never heard about Ghostbusters, right? And
Right.
Columbus being Columbus, like, oh, just wait for the power when they say who you're gonna call, right? Okay, you had to drop some kind of dumb one-liner, but it works, right? But yeah, basically, Bill is just hiding out here because of the whole zombie apocalypse, right? And it kind of touches on something that you wouldn't really think about as far as zombie films go in American zombie movies go, right? Yeah, well, where the rich people at? Like, where the actors and filmmakers, where they doing and all this stuff going on? Yeah, they in the mansion, they have the money, they have the
Right.
the movie movie theater.
Was there any movie that played with that concept even on a further end?
This is the end.
This
Which
is the end, right?
I love that. One of my favorite comedies of the past.
Yeah, so they carried even further in that sense.
Yes.
So that works there.
Yeah. But I could understand, again, going back to the scene, I could understand some people watch this like, okay, you kind of stop the show for Bill Murray. Why? I don't understand. But is the payoff, though? The payoff is absolutely worth it, though. Because, yes.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, because Bill being Bill now, because you already have like the zombie makeup on, he just put on a dumb wig, that he's zombie wig as he call it. He goes inside the whole movie theater room now and Columbus, and he's still watching Ghostbusters, and he comes in now and then Columbus sees him. I think Tallahassee calls him out, like, oh, look who's here. Columbus sees him and is like, oh shit, grabs a shotgun, blow one shot to the chest, right?
Right.
Is the last words where he was talking about, like, and then Tallahassee trying to remember a line, like, I think it's from Caddyshack, like him, like, oh, say that line for me one more time. Like, that really works, though, and just where they try to dispose the body in the mansion, that was funny to me, right? I should mention, too, in Double Tap, right? Because I recapped it, right? There's a pre-credit scene, right? Like before the credits roll, right? Where they actually show the beginning of the apocalypse, right? So it's like we don't see who ate the burger, but we see who got infected. Well, the first set of people get infected, right? So talking quickly, right? He was promoting Garfield 3. Remember, they had two Garfield movies, which everybody asked for, right? But yeah, he was promoting Garfield 3, and while he was doing it, while he was having like a little interview, I think Al Roker was the first one.
Yes, I remember this.
Yeah, and that was the joke, Al Roker. And then, Bill now ends up killing him and a bunch of other people, but he ended up hitting them with a chair that he had, right? Also, fun fact. Beyond the trailers, Grace Rudolph was there. She makes a cameo as one of the interviewers. Like, what? Like, Grace Randolph? No. Well, I know that's like Ricardo's, like, yeah. Well, fun fact, Ricardo don't care for Grace Randolph at all, but I don't know. I just find it was funny that she was in that. No, and I know she have a review out for Double Tap, so I should actually watch it and see if she mentions a cameo in that, right? But anyway, back to the first one, right? But yeah, I like that Lil Rock asks Bill if he have any regrets that he say Garfield maybe. That's a nice line. I like that, right? Because, yeah, I mean, I never cared for that Garfield live-action movie. I still to this day never watched it. I haven't even watched
They're pretty bad.
I haven't even watched the new Garfield movie, the animated one.
Yeah, I heard that bad too.
Yeah, I don't even want to see it. Like, not even in a curiosity kind of way, right? Because curiosity are cats, right?
I don't understand why they keep trying to make Garfield a thing for kids of this generation, but okay.
There's just a side note there, but the only time Garfield ever work is in the Garfield and Friends show. Like, that's the show. Like, it made sense.
Right.
It was a short, in and out. I forget the original voice actor for Garfield in that show back in the 90s.
Oh, Garfield.
That's the best show.
I used to like that show. Yeah.
Right, that was a good show. But the thing is, Garfield is just dry, acerbic cynicism. Why are you making it for little children? It's for adults. It don't translate. It don't translate to children.
Yeah.
I really hope not that, if you're under 10, you probably don't really get sarcasm and cynicism just yet. Not that you don't get it, but, it don't hit for you the same way. Like, when your time for the hormones are kicking and you start to see the world for what it is, blah, 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 right? So that's why I don't get why they keep doing this Garfield thing for this. I try to make it for kids. Listen, shout out to Bill Watterson. Bill Watterson totally understood why they don't sell out with Calvin and Hobbes.
Thank you.
Because kids won't get it.
Yeah.
People is always, that's the problem with the 80s and 90s. They do a bunch of shit for adults and then think you could just make it for kids and then sell toys. That bullshit. That's why Robocop and Rambo, one thing that, is cartoons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Don't make no sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So back to Zombieland now. I should say now for Pacific Playland, right? Because like the Winchester in Shaun of the Dead, this is where the third act is going to take place, right? And in retrospect, I think that a theme park is a very creative setting for a zombie film, right? And similar to Shaun of the Dead, the moment Wichita puts on them lights, the zombies show up, right? They see that and they run towards that, right? And prior to that, no, Wichita ended up leaving Columbus because they actually got close, almost intimate, but because she doesn't want anybody to get too attached to her, and that's always been like a trait of her character, even in the second film as well, too, right? When Madison got into the mix, right? Yeah, she bustled with her sister, and they decided to go to Pacific Playland, right? So of course, Columbus being Columbus goes after her, and Tallahassee tags along, right? So they actually show up just in time now when the zombies actually do attack, right? And one thing about this third act, right? I love how they actually incorporate the rides in this climax, right? Which has a lot of action in this, right? So like there's this lift, for example. I forgot the name of the lift, right? Because I'm not like theme park savvy. I'm sorry. Yeah, where you pretty much strap to this chair and it goes up and then it comes down halfway, then goes down and goes back up. I forgot what you call that, right? So
like the Tower of Terror.
I think that's one
something like that.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, you got a nice moment where you see Wichita and Little Rock just busting shots, but they stuck on top and then they going down, but then Little Rock end up shooting the controls, so they trap, and then in a great moment the zombies start to climb up now. So it's like, what are they gonna do? There's actually a nice little shootout that takes place in the haunted house with Columbus. That was really cool as well. But for me, Tallahassee steals the show with these like just badass scenes. So, like there's a moment where he goes on this ride where he just like running, more or less evading and gunning him down while he jumping from ride to ride. I think that really works. So like Tallahassee steals the show, right? Even get to do some John Woo shit. Like I forget this because he goes into this boot and he just pulls these two guns, real hard boiled shit, and then the killer, like old school killer. Yeah, they start busting shots at the zombies. I was like, what? That real hard though, And then, in a great moment, actually, Columbus actually breaks a rule because one of his rules is don't be a hero. But in this case, like, no, Wichita, who actually kind of like now, is in trouble. I need to go and save her and Little Rock, right? So yeah, the man come and like save the day and even get to kiss Wichita, right? So, I mean, great, right? And Tallahassee actually gets his hand on a Twinkie because Little Rock got a hold of one. And that's pretty much it. The heroes are alive and they are family now, and that's it, the end, right? So just to get to final thoughts, right? One thing I really did enjoy about the movie when I first saw it, and looking at it now, is how tight it is, just how tight the story is, right? It doesn't stay too long. It just runs for like about 85 minutes. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's short, it's simple, to the point. It's very entertaining from start to end. There's moments of downtime, which I know some people who kind of come. I know there'll be people who will kind of who will kind of come into the show expecting a little blood and guts, right? But I love the fact that the show it's there, but it's not about the violence. It's not about the zombie stuff. It's really about the humans. It's really about these four strangers who, two sisters and two strangers now, who become a family, and they more or less surviving in this world. They know how the world works, but it's just they can't survive on their own, and they have to kind of team up. And they just form this nice bond, and that's really what the heart of what the show is about, right? So like looking back at it now, I was surprised at how heartfelt the movie is, right? Because yes, you will look at the first 5 minutes and think, oh, it's just about irreverent humor and just zombie violence, but it's there. But that's not really what the show is about, right? But really, what I enjoy again is just how simple and to the point it is, right? It really is one of those shows you can just watch with your friends, right? And then you can pop in the next one if you want to and enjoy that for what it has in it, right? But for me, what really sells it though is the characters though, right? And just the actors involved. Woody Harrelson steals every scene he's in. I just love how just how vulgar he is towards Columbus, but eventually he warms up to him and whatnot. I love the little back and forth between Columbus and Wichita. How Little Rock tries to honest, because she's the youngest out of all of them, there's the bits with them, her trying to understand what they're saying, when they make references to like pop culture, those moments work as well. And yeah, Columbus just makes for a really like endearing protagonist though. Like even at first you find him kind of annoying because the way how he moves and talks, but eventually you kind of warm up to him and you understand why he is the way he is, right? And how he is able to survive in a world like this, right? But again, it makes sense that he would actually meet people, and because at the end of the day, you really can't survive a world like this on your own, right? They really set it up brilliantly, in my opinion, right? So yeah, the humor works, the heart works, well, the emotion works, the zombie violence works. I should mention one last thing though, they also set up like this zombie kill of the week thing, which, yeah, for the most part works. Well, the second one overdid it because they had a scene where a guy literally toppled the tower of pizza, onto a group of zombies. That made absolutely no sense. Like, how the hell a human being could do that, right? But whatever. Yeah, so it pokes fun of the zombie genre, but it also gives you the stuff that you expect from it too. But yeah, at the heart of it all is just really about these four individuals and how they survive in it and how they just basically have a great sense of humor while surviving, right? That really works for me, right? So yeah, for me, rating-wise, I'm going to give this a strong 4 out of 5, man. This is one of my favorite zombie comedy movies, I would say, ever. One of my favorite horror comedies. So it's no masterpiece, right? And I don't think the show is set out. I don't think the filmmakers were going out of the way to make a masterpiece. It was just like this fun, crowd-pleasing movie, which gives us the goods as far as zombie movies go. But they give you a heart and they give you a lot of humor with it as well, right? And yeah, that's really what it is, right? And again, with the sequel, it is what it is. I don't hate it, but again, it's one of those shows I would say if you want to do like a nice little double feature, yeah, I mean, watch it. It would hurt, right? But yeah, the first one really stands tall over that one, in my opinion, and yeah, it still holds up. So yeah, Ricardo, your final thoughts and rating on Zombieland.
Yeah, I love this movie. It just, again, for its time, I remember being dismissive going into thinking, oh, they're not going to do anything interesting here because, again, the zombie genre was getting kind of played out. And this was even before Walking Dead, right? So, it's like, you're thinking, what are they going to do with it? What are they going to do? They're going to do as it is. And yeah, they just end up making really surprisingly funny metatextual stuff, just referencing itself, but it works in its own way. Genre-savvy characters, they make it work, that's smart. And it just genuinely funny and charming characterization, and it comes together. It's a shame that the sequel, couldn't evolve in an interesting way. It just was kind of flat. But this was a great, just well-made, good action, good entertaining, outright, solid beats, as it was. So rating, I give it like an 8 out of 10. Great.
Nice. And lastly, Summer, your final thoughts and rating on Zombieland.
Yeah, as you can say, when it comes to zombie movies, the ones that work well tend to be the ones that kind of go really serious with it, like 28 Days Later, or really goofy with it. And this one, I feel, did that. One of the things you said to Matthew about it, that you could tell it didn't take itself too seriously. It didn't set out to reinvent the wheel, but what they came up with was a very original concept in the sense that not many people were doing the whole meta thing with zombies, and the characters, again, they made this for me, especially Woody Harrelson and Emma Stone. Overall, I do enjoy it a lot. I wouldn't say it's like a favorite of mine or anything like that, but it is one of those movies where if somebody asked me to see a horror movie, but they're not into horror, they don't want to get too scared or anything like that, this is the kind of movie I would recommend to them. The movie does commit the great sin for me of using CGI blood. I am all about practical effects when it comes to horror movies.
It does use CGI blood. That's true. Yeah.
That always kind of takes away from the impact of things, but at the same time, Woody Harrelson, to me, he's almost like the main character in the movie in a sense. That whole thing with him and his dog, with him preferring to kill zombies with objects instead of guns so that he can really, really enjoy killing them. And then you realize it wasn't his dog, it was his son.
Yes, I forgot to mention that. That was a great, I forgot about that. That was a really touching. Yeah.
It was a very touching moment in a movie that doesn't really have anything outside of them having the core of them learning to depend on each other. So it hits you in the feels because it seemed to come out of left field. Everything was so funny and lighthearted, and then he tells this very dark story. So I love that aspect of it. The sequel, I get it. The sequel just feels very sci-fi movie of the week, but with a bigger budget. So it's not something that I see myself revisiting. I would give this a 7 out of 10. I honestly, it's not a favorite of mine, but I do enjoy it for what it is, and it does a lot of things right. It does the comedy right, it does the character development right, and it especially does the pacing right. It's never boring.
Agreed. And lastly, before we wrap things up, in retrospect, I'm glad that we never had a Zombieland series. Like I admire the attempt at it, but I don't think it would have worked though. Even with the lighthearted approach, it wouldn't have made sense. Simply because Walking Dead, right? It was big. Like right now, like it was evolving into the soap opera which we loved, or liked, right? We could care about.
And again, with Z Nation coming out, I don't know the history behind that show, but Z Nation is such a good balance for Walking Dead in the sense that, okay, if you're Walking Dead, if you find the themes they're too heavy or whatever, but you like zombies, here's Z Nation. It has some serious elements in it, but it's very much a road trip action flick zombie type movie. And for what it does really well. It's not perfect, but if you have Z Nation, you don't need a Zombieland television series. You really don't.
Right. Understood.